It's too bad that all those folks that are on the web couldn't be here. We're going to be giving away a jet ski later on. So it's too bad. A couple of people that are here, good luck. I was amazed and always amazed when people start talking about the growth in data. We heard from some folks today about the exponential growth and protecting that growth and moving and migrating that data. We heard from Zerto talking about zettabytes. It's that sort of growth in data that Ctera is here to address. As Rad had mentioned, there's a number of different cloud resources that are out there. Cloud resources in terms of storage and storing your data. And what Ctera does is Ctera leverages those things. We'll talk about the architecture in a little bit, but we have a sort of unique way to provide what we call edge to cloud. The ability to bring all of the edges that you have in your organization, all of the remote workers, and allow them to either one, migrate their data into the cloud, or two, use data that's already in the cloud with local performance. We do that because we have our global file system. You'll see here on the screen, we given ourselves a little commercial and pat on the back. Distributed cloud storage leader. GigaOM has said that we're a leader in this space. You see some of the other players on here. You basically want to get into the center of the radar, and we're right there. You may or may not have heard of Ctera. A few months ago, I didn't hear of Ctera, and I've been in storage business for 20-something years. Ctera's been around for 13 years, and they've been doing really well. They've been building very, very high-end systems. We've got over 50,000 systems that are deployed out there, deployed in the Fortune 500, Fortune 50, Fortune 100, whatever. We've got a number of customers there. There's a number of customers that span verticals. I heard some government agencies on the call today. I heard some insurance on the call today. I heard some large organizations. We've actually gotten a lot of traction in those large organizations. The Army, the Navy, the Air Force, they're all customers. We can talk about the Navy use case. It's pretty interesting, but the point is we know how to handle vastly distributed environments. And just touching on the federal stuff, the federal guys are pretty particular about their security. We happen to have some very high level security here native into the product. We'll talk through the architecture about our ransomware capabilities, our native security capabilities. We're AE 256 compliant. We're FIPS 140-2 compliant. We're on the approved products list for the DoD. The point is that we know what we're doing in this, and we know how to work with large organizations. You see on the bottom, IBM, HPE, Cisco, all partners of ours. IBM, HPE, Zerto's an HPE company. We have joint products with them. IBM and HPE have been selling our product for years. So although you may not have heard of Ctera, there's a lot of customers that are out there that are using it. And what is sort of the use case and how do we grow up? Well, it grew up from an explosion of data. It grew up as people started using tools and building either machine generated or user generated data and putting it in their core. Primarily unstructured data, putting it on NAS devices. And these NAS devices started scaling up and they started to get really heavy and big. And that's fine. They're performant. They're very beefy boxes. They can do the job. That's fine. And it's fine if you want to use all that data and you're sitting in the core. But as you start to move away from the core and you start to move into remote offices, and then like all of us got hit in COVID at home offices, your performance really lacks. The immense amount of data to try and traverse that remotely through all the hoops that you have to go through with VPNs and all the conversions that you would have to do, very slow. So what we did is we wanted to address that. And the way we addressed that was through our global file system. Our global file system allows us to be deployed not only at the core, but that same file system can be deployed out to the edge. So when you were writing your data, you were writing it to the edge, and all of our technology is continuously, asynchronously, but continuously replicating back to the core. As Ron was mentioning, we can replicate back to the core to any sort of cloud bucket. We can replicate to AWS, Microsoft, Google, IBM, Seagate, Wasabi, Backblaze, you name it. If it's an S3 bucket on the planet, it could be your bucket. It could be an on-prem S3 target. So what we have the ability to do is we have the ability to use it. Okay. And the way it looks when we start talking about the platform is if we look at the blue box on the bottom, okay, that is our global file system. That has all of the secret sauce about what we do, okay? That allows us to control the placement of the file system on any core edge device. And on the left-hand side is our portal. And that portal is the window into our global file system. And that's where you're going to be putting in your policies and setting up tenancies. So if you're a service provider or you're a segmented business, you can segment by division, et cetera. You can set all that stuff up there and you can manage it. But here's the really important piece. This is really something that is significantly powerful and helps us extend beyond other file systems that you may know. You'll see in the middle that gray box. You'll see Ansible, you'll see Python, you'll see whatever. What we have the ability to do is we have the ability to be open and codable, a programmable file system. And that the programmability allows us to build what we call connectors. These connectors can ingest intelligence into the file system. So if we wanted to intelligently enhance the file system with, say, security, we can. As a matter of fact, we've already done that. We actually have a McAfee plugin. So we can plug McAfee into natively our file system. We can do governance. If you want to have governance on your files for GDPR reasons, or you wanted to track who's opening what, how long they've opened it, all those things that you want to do at the file level for security reasons, we have a plugin for Varonis. We can, if you have Ansible playbooks, we can compile them, we can bring them into the file system, we can customize it, and then we can do anything that you need to do from a custom perspective. All the data services now become part of the file system. Data services, not only in the security aspect that I just talked about, or the governance aspect, but things that are kind of like, if you will, mundane table stakes, file sync and share, backups. We have the ability to do all that sort of stuff through our portal, okay? And the way it looks from a more applicable diagram to deploy is on the left-hand side there, you see those edge filers, Ctera Edge. And those filers are edge devices, as they say, but it's software. And it's software that is run on a VM. So if it's a Linux server or it's a VM server, whatever it is, you populate it. And we have a spec sheet that helps guide you how you want to build that. Or remember, we have a relationship with IBM and HP and Dell, blah, blah. You can buy an entire appliance in a 32 gig, a 64 gig, a 128 gig cached device specific to your architecture. And those go out to the edge. And what you do is you log into those, and everything that is saved to that file. Oh, pardon me, filer. After it's saved to the filer, what happens is it continuously is replicating those to the portal to S3. Our portal talks SMB NFS on the front end and talks S3 on the back end, public, private, S3 native. And so what you have the ability to do is very quickly, within seconds, have the core populated with the edges information. And once the core is populated with the edges information, all the edge filers can see it. What you have is local performance at the edge. Now, if you can't access an edge filer, we have a little piece of technology, we call it Drive Connect, which will go on your laptop. It'll go on your Mac OS device, your phone, your Android, blah, blah, blah. And what that does is it can connect directly to the portal. So not only can you connect through a filer, through an edge device, you can also connect through a portal directly from a client. So we have the ability to get you to the data, however you need to get to the data. It doesn't matter what infrastructure is out there. Remember, this is a software play. Yes, we have hardware components if you want them, but typically we sell software and it lays on top of any infrastructure. That global file system lays on any infrastructure that's out there and allows you to do primary access for the data. It allows a secondary sort of access for archiving, all that sort of stuff. It allows endpoint data protection. And one other thing that I didn't talk about is our container capabilities. We're releasing in another month or so a full container capability for our edge devices. Some of the use cases, just very quickly go over them. I don't want to harp on these. We can have a follow-up if you find this interesting, but if a lot of our use cases, a lot of people are looking to sort of get that next stage in their unstructured life by modernizing their NAS environment. A lot of our customers tend to be multi-site, as you mentioned, or as I mentioned, with those customers before. A lot of people are really worried about protecting their endpoints. And one of the sort of offshoots of the product is just our ability to protect the endpoint devices and make sure that all the data that's being generated on the edge, on laptops, et cetera, is brought back to the core. We do a lot with machine generated stuff. It says media here. I don't necessarily like the term media because really what it should say is machine generated being if it's some sort of system that's capturing a lot of data continuously. And that could be a production facility in a warehouse. That could be an airplane engine, aircraft engine that's doing telemetry back into a black box. There's all sorts of machine generated stuff. And of course, media, video surveillance and cameras are sort of doing that too, but any sort of machine generated stuff. And if you have multiple clouds and you want to go from an on-prem sort of service into a cloud service, this is a nice tool. We have a lot of migration tools to help with that. We've got, if you use Amazon, use Snowball. We've got Snowball migration tools. If you have NetApp or Isilon, we have NetApp and Isilon migration tools. We've got a number of tools to help you get into this new environment. All this sort of stuff does have a little bit of a benefit. The piggy bank there's a lot of stuff built into this thing from a savings perspective. I didn't talk about it, but native to all that stuff is wildly efficient use of the telecom links through deduplication and compression. And so we're driving down the overall cost of the system just from a connectivity perspective. And there's other competitors out there that we can talk about how we are a lot better in terms of our chatter on the wire. That caching that we do, we cache, we dedupe, and we store locally only what we need to, so we become very efficient to provide the performance. And because we can use any S3 object store, we can turn the performance of an object store into that of a locally attached NAS device. So there's a lot of things that we do from a sort of a overall architecture perspective, which ultimately drive down the overall cost of the solution. So if you wanted to hear more, you can send me a note. Okay. We can schedule a call. I'll do a call with myself, an engineer, a developer, whatever, and we can talk through the architecture. And we've got multiple ways to deploy this. We can deploy it as a software. We can deploy it as a hosted software. We can deploy it on-prem in the cloud. We can deploy it on any cloud. So if you wanted to, and you wanted to have take a test drive, take a look, it's very easy for me just to give you a hosted service and you can start driving this thing today. So with that, I'm pretty much all set. I'll ask if there's any questions here, and I'll see if I can manage the chat room here. I see a couple of things in chat. Yeah, jet ski. Yes, we're giving out a jet ski here. That's too bad you guys can't be here. You have to drop. Somebody has to drop. Okay. Well, I think we're all set, Ron. I don't think